Cadillac's hit music station, 107.9 CDY. It is the Get Up and Go morning show. I am Rich Spicer, glad to be with you. And once again at the guest microphone this year, Eric Richards. And it is time to think about spring. Spring brings flowers, it brings warmer weather, it brings better attitudes, and it also brings the Temple Hill 3-on-3 charity basketball tournament and our annual interview. Hi, Eric. How are you?
Hi, Rich. I'm good. How are you?
Good. Well, I know why we've got you here.
Yep.
And the secret really isn't that much of a secret, but this is the official, I guess, on-air unveiling of the beneficiary of this year's tournament.
Yeah, I kind of blew the lid on that a little early. I wanted to get started.
That's okay.
It's something that it really got me. This year we are supporting Brian Adams. He was the young man who was in the Green Mill Motel explosion in Manton in May. And after talking to Nicole Johnson, who was in the studio with us, she was very persuasive, I guess would be the word. Basically, I was going to do this tournament for him, or she was never going to talk to me again, and I can't have that. She's too cool to talk to. So we're helping Brian this year. Brian has very, very severe burning. He's going to have surgeries pretty much every time he grows. So if he grows an inch, they got to go and do this laser cutting on his arms and his joints to stretch the skin and give him room to move. And he's going to have a face transplant at some point. And it's just the whole story, everything involved. People have tried to help him. And there's just so much to this story, Rich. And I sat there on a Saturday listening to Nicole talk, and I got sad and emotional and angry, and I left very, very motivated. Like, okay, let's do this. I went to my church, I talked to the people, and they said, whatever you want to do. And so I want to help Brian, so that's what we're doing.
Most of us follow the story, and it's a very, very, it's a sad story because it's a situation where it's a young man who is going to be dealing with this his entire life through no fault of his own. Yeah. So all we can do now is move forward and help him out. Yeah. And so when are the dates? What's the date of this, and how can folks participate before we talk a little bit more specifically with Nicole?
Okay. The tournament date this year, I'm assuming I'm going to have a little more teams because Manton's what you would call a basketball town.
That it is.
And Brian also played basketball. So I'm assuming we're going to have more teams than normal. So I have the gym rented out from Friday the 11th till May 13th. That way I can fit as many teams as I can in a weekend. It is going to be at Temple Hill Baptist Church, which is 1601 West Division Street in Cadillac. And there's the auction going on again this year that Winter Proctor, a lady from my church, has volunteered to run, and she's going to do an amazing job because she's just very detail-oriented. And my new friend Nicole here has volunteered to help me get sponsors in Manton and try to rack up some teams for Brian's cause. So Brian and his family are very, very fortunate to have Nicole, because had I not talked to Nicole, I don't know if I'd have been helping Brian. She really hit home how urgent this situation is for Brian. So
before we get into specifics about how folks can help out and who they call and if sponsors want to donate or if players want to play, anything like that, let's talk a little bit about Nicole. Family friend. Get a little closer to the microphone, Nicole. Perfect. Thank you. Family friend, you convinced Eric to do this. Tell us a little bit about what made you decide that you really wanted to do this.
Well, Eric contacted me through Facebook. He had gotten my name off of the flyer that I had created for the first benefit that we put on in the beginning of December. I met with him, and he wanted to know Brian's story, and so I told Brian's story. I told him how it affected not just Brian, it affected the whole community. It was probably one of the saddest things that ever happened in our town.
Things like that do not happen in a small town like Manton.
No, they don't.
And when they do, everybody comes together.
Yes. I have been involved with other benefits where I've helped out, donated my time. I've never helped organize one. That was my first one that I helped organize, and the generosity from our awesome small town and from all over other local communities. It was amazing.
We've seen Brian's face.
Yes.
Brian's face has been burned severely. What about the rest of his body?
His stomach doesn't have any burns, and his back doesn't really have any burns, but he does have scarring on his stomach now because they actually took skin from his stomach to put on his arms and his legs.
And I hadn't even considered what Eric just mentioned, because he's not fully grown. His shape of his face is going to change and all that. I hadn't even considered that.
Yes, they're predicting that he will have to have surgeries until he's 25 years old.
Okay. So, and every time there's a surgery, there's an attached medical bill and having to go from place to place.
Yes.
Yeah. So the need is great.
Yes. I wasn't aware of this, but I thought that Brian's medical bills were pretty much all covered by state insurance. I was wrong. They don't cover everything. And right now, Dad is knee deep in medical bills.
So, Eric, do you want to, I'll ask you first. Can you address what you told me before the interview about what the greatest needs are, or does Nicole do that? You'll do it? Okay. I'll have you swap again. Okay. So, as we've been talking about here, Eric prepped me a little bit before we went on the air here, but there are a couple of things on Brian's and Brian's family's wish lists. Why don't you talk about that?
Well, I want to start, and I want to finish what Nicole was saying. I have permission from the family to say this. Their medical bills right now, they're going to continue to grow, exceed $400,000. $400,000. And
I can imagine the bills themselves before insurance have to be in the millions at this point.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I think the number was 18 million.
Oh.
Something like that. And just so everyone is aware of what's actually happened here, Brian's dad, Rob, is a man's man. I had more respect leaving their house the other night than I think I've ever had for any man I've ever met. He quit his job. He lives downstate. Mm-hmm. He quit his job and moved up here to take care of Brian, and he learned how to take care of Brian. Brian needs 24-hour care. He had to go and take classes to learn how to do the trachs and all this stuff, and he quit his job so Brian didn't have to leave his friends, because Brian's lost so much of everything else in his life that matters to him. His dad did not want him to lose his friends too. How unbelievably amazing is that?
It's a very unselfish thing to do.
It's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And then I met Lacey. Now, Brian's dad, Rob, doesn't have a job. Lacey's coming into this. They're engaged. Lacey is totally taking on all the financial burden the family has right now. I can't imagine how amazing of an individual you have to be to walk into that, because she has no ties. She could walk away anytime, but she's choosing to stay. I mean, Brian has lost a lot, but he has a lot of love there. Rob and Lacey are two of the most amazing individuals I have ever met, just because of their sacrifices for Brian. And, I had the opportunity to sit down and talk with them this week. And one thing I always ask people when I'm doing this is, what is it you need? There is no way I'm going to be able to come up with $400,000. That's just, I don't know that many people. However, if I could fill specific needs for you, what can I do? And they told me the story of how Godfrey's was very generous and donated a vehicle, but it needs some work. So I guess the work got done by a mechanic. They drove it home. They had it for a day or two, and the engine seized up. It just stopped working, and it's just sitting in the yard. So they have to go to Ann Arbor 3-4 times a week. They're going to have to go for the major surgeries. They have to go to Boston. Mm-hmm. I know I'm reaching for a miracle here, but I've learned doing this tournament that you just have to ask, because if you don't ask, the answer is always no.
Mm-hmm.
Last year I said I wanted to pay off all the medical bills. It was like $30,000. Somehow it happened. So this year I'm reaching out to every dealership that can hear my voice, anybody that has extreme financial wealth that wants to literally make a significant change in this family's life for a better. This family's been through so much. If a dealership, if anyone could buy them a vehicle, give them a vehicle, something to that nature, you would make their lives 100 times easier than it is right now. And there's no way they or myself could ever repay someone for this. This is just me reaching out for a miracle. They need a miracle right now. And
I just wanted to, for people who are just tuning in, maybe jumped in 4 or 5 minutes ago and don't know what we're talking about. Eric Richards is with us talking about the Temple Hill 3-on-3 charity basketball tournament coming up in May, and the beneficiary being Brian Adams, the young man who was burned in the Green Mill Motel fire in Manton. Go ahead and continue.
So then I turned to Brian, and I love that kid. He's been through so much. He's still feisty. He was laughing. You know, I was mad because he was been through all that and he still has more hair on his head than I do. That's, kind of unfair, I think, but whatever. But
you are a very distinguished looking bald man, Eric Richards.
Well, thank you.
Don't sell yourself short. I've been watching you on My News 26 doing those basketball games. You look fine.
That's an act of desperation by Eric Wotilla to put me on those things. But anyway, so I turned to Brian and I asked him, if there's one thing I could get you, if there's one thing I could do for you, if there's one thing I could make happen for you, what would you want? And he kind of started giggling a little bit. And he said, I was at ABC Warehouse with my dad and I sat down in one of those massaging chairs. And that's literally the first time since this happened that I didn't have any pain. And he said, if I could get one of those, I would get one of those. And I was like, oh, well, that sounds, how much are they? $2,500. And I'm just like, when I first heard the number, I was just like, well, probably not going to get that, but then I kind of stopped myself because I was just like, this kid is in constant pain 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And he will be for a long, long time. He's been this way since May. Who am I to tell him that I'm not going to get him this chair? So that's another thing I'm asking the community. If you work at ABC Warehouse, if you know somebody that works at ABC Warehouse, if you have the means to do this, I'm going to try to do it. I'm going to try everything I can to raise enough money to at least handle that for this family. But if this story touches your heart enough to make you want to do this for them, this chair is at ABC Warehouse. It is literally the only time he said that he's felt good since this happened. I mean, doesn't that... I'm starting to cry right now just thinking about it. This poor kid is 14 years old, and he's... None of this is his fault.
Complete and discomfort all the time. Yeah.
And this chair is the only thing that's going to make him feel good. Brian, you're going to get that chair one way or another. I don't care how it happens. You're going to get that chair.
So family needs a vehicle. Brian himself can use a massage chair. Yeah. And now we're going to talk about the tournament itself. Sponsors, let's cover that. How people can help, donate auction items. I mean, there's a lot of stuff we got to talk about here.
Yeah, let's change the directions because you're going to lose me real quick.
Yeah, I sense that, so I decided we better.
Okay, so different ways you can help with the tournament. We need volunteers. We always need volunteers. If you know how to ref, if you know how to take down names for player registration when they show up, if you know how to score keep, cleanup crews, startup crews, all that stuff. I'm going to need all that at some point. If you choose to sponsor the tournament, the sponsorship fee, sponsorship fee is $100. And with that $100, not only are you helping Brian's cause, which is the biggest thing, but I will also make sure that your business name is on the back of every player's shirt that comes out of that tournament. Normally it's about $200 a year. I'm expecting more this year just because Manton's a basketball town, and as Nicole has said, they stick together. I'm going to come on this radio show again with Rich because CDY has always been very, very good to me in this tournament, and I'm going to thank every business on the air on the Friday before the tournament. And we also do a charity auction. It's on Facebook. It's Temple Hill 3-on-3 charity auction. You could search it and find it. Right now, we're looking for people to donate items to give to the cause. So if you have stuff laying around the house you're not using that might be worth something to someone else, post it on there, and Winter Proctor will get back to you 100% guaranteed. I love this woman. She's got a great heart. She's going to take care of this for me. And then when the auction starts in a month or two, bid on the items. There's actually a lot of cool stuff in there. I won't be dating anyone. I won't be up for a date this year. That's not happening ever again. I put the old clause down on that the day after it happened. No traveling to Nashville for me to go on dates, although that was fun. But, and again, sponsorships, if you want to play in the tournament, it's a 3-on-3, so you can have a maximum of 4 players. I will do brackets for any age if I get 4 teams. And that fee is also $100. With that, you get a dry fit cutoff t-shirt. And we have first, second, third place trophies and an MVP trophy. And I told Brian that if he's feeling well enough to do it, because Brian played basketball, and from what I hear, from what Nicole's told me, he's actually a very, very good basketball player. I told him that if he's physically able to do it, I might do a free throw shooting or a 3-point shooting contest. That way he can participate in that, because he just can't play basketball right now. Mm-hmm. And so I want to try to involve him as much as possible.
Okay. Facebook is the easiest way to find you?
You can contact me on Facebook. There's a 3-on-3 Temple Hill charity, Temple Hill 3-on-3 charity basketball tournament page. You can call me, 231-878-2589. Call me, text me. There's also an email, and it's templehillbasketball@gmail.com. Any of those ways you can get a hold of me. If you're in Manton, you probably know Nicole Johnson. You can contact her. She's going to be my Manton hookup. She's volunteered to do that for me, and thank you, by the way, for that, because that's a huge burden off my shoulders. That's just one less thing that I have to do of a magnitude of things I have to do.
Yeah, because you do have a full-time job in addition to this. So.
I do, and I'm also doing some softball tournaments too. So
which we're going to talk about on a future show.
Yeah. So any help I can get is greatly appreciated. Mike Griffin's going to help me again this year. He was a big help last year. So if this story has touched your heart at all, please contact me. If you can buy a vehicle, I will, every viable source that I have, I will brag your company up in every single way. I have contacts. Your dealership, if you donate a car, will be heard about far and wide. And the chair, I mean, it's $2,500. I want to be able to give them the chair, the car, and a lot of money too. So I know it's a big thing, but I believe God does big things. So that's what I'm asking for.
And small towns band together.
They do.
Yeah. All right. May 11th through the 13th?
Yes.
All right. And we will have you back again a couple months more down the road. And I know there's some other things coming up that you want to talk about too. So, Eric, thank you very much. Nicole, thank you very much.